So it's real comfortable to work like that. But more importantly, a lot of times you're doing a tree for whatever reason, you're doing rigging a lot of times, I find this, or even pruning. You get way out on a limb, and you got a limb right here, but it's hard to redirect. You could use your lanyard, but it's a little high to where you want to lean down and work, because once you clip in with your lanyard, I don't know how long your normal lanyards are, but I usually use a pretty long one, usually 16 or 18 feet, and a lot of people say, oh, I usually use 8 foot. So you're in worse shape than me, but if it's 16 feet, and I have it like this, how far can I go from that crotch? 8 feet, and then I'm out of rope. So here, what this does is it gives me a chance where, let's say this is that limb that I was going to use, and I was going to work like this. I'll run out of rope at about 8 feet if it's 16 feet. That might not be enough to do what I want to do. So here's another option is we can clip this here, right, and choke this off, and then move this to the center, and now we have a single line attachment, which is rated, and I can work how far now? 16 feet. So now I get twice the reach, which is really good. And it's really important if you do a lot of rigging and you're in big trees. A lot of times you're in a point where there's big union and you can't lanyard in comfortably and still work because you can't move. If you do this, you can still pivot nice and get out of the way of something. It's a really good technique. But this is the bad part. This isn't good for your system. You know, this choking off with a carabiner or snap isn't good for the snap. Because what happens is when it's tight, what does it do? It's going to bend it, side load it, or trip the gate so it can't work anymore. You're going to ruin your snap. So that's what this is for. This little prusik is a rated piece of equipment. It's actually this material. It's New England Ropes Tech Cord, and it's rated for 5,000 pounds. That little thin stuff. Has some limitations though too, because the fiber that you're choosing for these, you got to understand that they're good for some things and bad for others. It's not good for absorbing shock and what have you. But what this does is it gives you the same attachment point now, right? But it gives you a bite, and where's the snap? It's clean now. It's not touching anything. So now you have your carabiner or snap where it's out in the open. That's the main reason for that attachment like that. You can also do a double wrap. You can also, if this is out of your reach, for example, maybe you can't quite reach it, you could throw your lanyard up and then connect down here where you can reach, right, and still do it. And now I can work off of this and work this hard spot. And if I slip, I'm protected from a fall from the limb above, but I'm still tied in over here for my main attachment. And that's really the biggest reason to have that on your arm. I do a couple that you can gain some friction on a single line. You can even self-rescue, rappel on it if you had to in an emergency. But all it is just turning the rope over and putting these two pieces together. You know, it's just basically you grab the rope and flip it and put your thumbs together, put your hands together. That's where you clip your carabiner. And that's your munter hitch right there. It just makes a wrap on the rope, and that creates friction. So if you don't have friction on it, it's going to run. You know, you're not tied in. You know, that's the downside. But if you needed to self-rescue and all you had was a carabiner, a little bit of holding here, and you can control your weight real easily. It's a good backup for a lot of things too. So if you don't know a munter hitch, it's a really good thing to learn. This could be used on here as your belay if you needed to, with the prusik above it to keep it from falling. Anytime you use a system that's not auto-locking, you need an auto-locking component when you're climbing like this. So what I'm going to do is use a piece of gear instead, because this is a really nice little system. You can use a lot of components here. This is called a Trango cinch. It's made for a belay device, which is basically for rock climbing or mountaineering.
He's showing the advantage of this lanyard so that the rescuer can release the climber's weight off of the lanyard in order to complete the rescue.
It's just like a VT, yeah?
Just a slick, that's just a slick ring. That's not a, okay.
Yeah. This one is a VT, yeah? Yeah, that's just something somebody made. There's one I was telling the guys about before. It just came out called a shizzle.
Shizzle, okay.
Tree Stuff is selling it. I don't know anyone else who's selling it.
Yeah, I buy
Yeah. But here, what we're doing is we're climbing on this, right? two separate ropes. It could be laid at the ground like we have here, so now I'm rescuable. But what does this do? What does this system do now? It backs it up, because why? Because now they're independent, right? Now if one fails, what am I doing? Am I falling? No. I have a backup plan. All I did was incorporate my climbing line, really. It's not a difficult backup. Same thing with this one. If this one fails, where am I? Still climbing, I'm still up in the air. So it's a nice quick system for if you like the footlock or climb like this, it's a quick way to back that system up to add some safety to it. System, where are you hanging? You're down here, right? Here I can pull this up tight, and now I'm working at eye level, so it's easier to reach to do what I got to do. So in this scenario, just snug this up a little bit. In this scenario, I lanyard in before I disconnect anything. I put my lanyard onto the tree, and then all I got to do is unclip this side here that I'm going to climb on. That's my climbing system. Put this on in place, and then we can just unclip. Now I'm ready to tie into the tree quick, right? Because my system's already there in front of me. So now I just tie into the tree, and then we unclip from the ascent system, and then I can take my lanyard off and I'm ready to go to work. So it's a quick, efficient way to climb too in that regard.
We need to post a large laminated version of this aerial rescue flowchart on every trailer.
Foot tether if you want. Put your left foot in. Just push this little guy here. And then they'll lengthen it out to wherever you want. How's that feel? All right or no? Yeah? Need some help or no? I guess not. Is that high enough? Probably a little more. That way I can get off the ground before I do it. Fine. I don't end up bumping into him too much. I don't want to rip his pants. You alright? Try to keep off your leg. Alright, one more step. Hang on to yourself. This is where, when you get into like a real rescue scenario, you got to make sure the gear's in good shape and backed up nice. Now I'm going to take my ascender off. That's out of the way. Let me set it first. How's that? Good? All right, so I'm going to climb up, and I'm just going to go real slow past him because I don't want to hurt him along the way. And get up alongside him. Get my feet up as high as I can. And now I set my line. Now there's two things I can do in this climb. One is I could climb up above him, or I could set my line in here. Set. Climb up here. It gets cozy up here. Let me turn around so I don't hurt you. Gets cozy over here. All right, so in this scenario, one thing I'll probably do is connect myself up a little bit higher. There's a lot of ways to do this too. Really depends on the gear you got available. I like to, in most scenarios, I would use the other pulley, just tie in above them, so that's probably what I'll do now. I'm actually going to change this. I don't like how high it is. If you do the rescue from here, you can, but well, we'll just do it. I'll talk about it later. We'll plan it out later. I'm going to set a separate system in here. This is going to me. All right? Put it on top so I can detach it pretty easily. This other one, I'll turn it around so it's nice and straight and clean. This other one, I'm going to send it over to Miguel. In this scenario here, what I'm going to do is connect this to his harness, and it's just the tail of my rope. Now, what I have to do to release this, you all right? is I have to put my foot in my prusik here and get my weight off this little extra hook again that I connected the shorty to. Oops, sorry. It's a little close for comfort. Detach my shorty. And then I set back down in my line, pull them up tight. Get you good? Pull up the line tight and use my weight to fall into his weight. And what I have here is called a counterbalance rescue. See how I use my weight to pick him up? So the one thing you're going to want to do,
He's using this with a prusik, and it has a ring on it. There's the ring, so you can attach 2 climbers to it. In this example, the victim is lodged in a crotch, so he uses a micro pulley and attaches both their belts together to gain the mechanical advantage in order to lift the victim, and then he sets up to lower.